Okay, hi there. So this is episode 3 of 10:30 Shares A Dram. The premise of our new web series is I invite people into my studio and we share a whisky, chew the fat, put the world to rights, as you do when you're sharing a dram. If you've missed the last 2 episodes, check them out on our YouTube channel, subscribe at the button below. Eagle-eyed viewers will notice that I've got quite a bushly moustache going on. The last episode was the beginnings of it, my November campaign. You can find more information on that in the link below as well, and I'll post all the other links to November, the charity work they've been doing in the past month, everything below. But a very exciting day today. Today we've got Ewan Henderson from Scotch Broth Events, a multi-sensory maverick, someone who combines science, taste, technology to provide real kind of multi-sensory experiences in events through food and drink. So welcome, Ewan, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me, thank you very much.
It was very cold, but you've got a nice warm tweed jacket on,
yes.
So hopefully it's not too cold.
No.
So today we're sharing a dram of Port Ruighe Talisker, which is a non-age statement whisky, a new in the range from Talisker. I've been told it combines all the best parts of the ages of Talisker. For me, I think it's cracking. I think there's a lot going on with it. Mm-hmm. So would you like to share a dram with me?
Yes, I certainly would.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. A fantastic part of the world, Talisker in Skye, one of the Hebrides, biggest island in the Hebrides, and such a lot of stories from that part of the world. It's a fantastic whisky, Talisker. It's quite iconic with its kind of salty sea notes, and this one particularly isn't so much peaty, it's less phenols in it, but port casks, and quite interesting. Part of what I do, storytelling side of things, is the history with the wine cask going across the Hebrides and things like that, back in the day, back to 17th, 18th century and things like that. So there's all these kind of hidden stories in whisky, and the port has quite a rich history, and quite an interesting cast style finish for whisky lovers.
Well, cheers.
Cheers, Slàinte mhath.
Thanks for coming in.
It's got some fantastic notes, and it's got those sort of fruity elements. What you find with this port style finish is it has the colour difference slightly. In port style whiskies, they tend to be kind of red, and from my kind of multi-sensory style of world that I look at, red is quite interesting colour. You think it's going to be, like fruity and sweet.
Yeah.
This is what we are hardwired to experience in the colour of red.
Right.
So when we see reddish coloured port cask finish whisky, we're kind of our brain is already kind of looking at this and thinking this is what's going to happen. And then when you taste it, it's not always like that. So there's a lot of port finish whiskies from different companies, Scotch, that maybe don't always live up to the standard of the whisky drinker. Some people, it's kind of cuts across the whisky world, finishes. So there's some fantastic finishes of port, but then there's some other ones where it feels like quite tight and quite tannic. The fruitiness doesn't seem to come through. So some people you find won't go near port finish. It's quite an interesting element in the whisky world, where some people prefer certain styles of cask finishes, but this has a balance to it that's different, and it doesn't have tightness to it.
I think it's great. I think they're
trying it straight first. I like to take it straight first. We've got a couple of, I always like with popping water in it. And from our science point of view, we have pipettes here as well, so that we can be extremely measured in our measurements. If you like to have a wee touch of water. I've also brought along some barley tea, and I'm always interested in bringing new types of experiences, not overwhelming taste experiences
Yeah.
to whiskey. We want to appreciate what's in the glass already, but it has some kind of elements where it brings something to the drink. So for this, it's a barley tea. It's like Japanese and Korean and Chinese.
Right.
They seem to love barley tea. We have barley. If you were to sort of make this a more sugary version, this is kind of less without sugar.
Right.
So if you were to add sugar to this, you could start thinking of like barley sugars, barley sweets.
Yeah.
So this is but you can taste this first if you like. But I was going to try a wee touch of this. And when we talk about the colour and the colour of whiskey, this will take a wee touch of the redness away, as your eyes are always making judgments on your food and drink experiences, not always for the right kind of sense. It has a slight kind of, it's got a kind of slight earthiness, there's a wee bit of coffee kind of in the dark,
There's like
kind of
toasted,
flavours, slightly toasted flavour.
toasted kind of sesame as well.
I like having the water from the area. You know, if it's from the different parts of Scotland, to have the water from the area, local sourced water. And if you can't be there while we're here in Glasgow, then we can experience some of the different flavours. But I like to experience different styles of taste as we taste whiskey. So I've done things like with coconut water and whiskey, and green tea is obviously well known in the Far East with whiskey. But just to have light touches to it can add a new experience to it.
It does. It gives a slightly different finish.
It's only a whiff of smoke at the end. It's not got the stronger element of smoke in some of the other tabs. And the port does give it a finish. It gives it a smoothness to it. So it's very interesting.
I like it. I think there is a real balance to it. I really enjoy. I enjoy the other Taliskers with that really kind of heavy peat, that really heavy smoke back. So this is quite nice to maybe start on, I suppose, if you're not really into that. There
is a big trend now for peated whiskies throughout the different regions, and heavily sherried style casks. And this is a general taste that we have. If you think that we in general are becoming more spicy palates, in the West it's becoming far more spicy, so with that it means we're going for the smokier, we're going for the spicier, the sherry cask, the French oak cask finishes. So this is a kind of general trend in their kind of palate in the West. So
why is that? Why are we going? Why? Like, does the palate change throughout time? What is that?
Genes of palates are changing. I'll do a wee test for you. I'll do a wee kind of gene test, because in general things are changing. In the UK, for instance, traditional condiments are changing and becoming more spicy. The influence of sriracha and things like that. If you think of Western palates, 15 years ago we had sweet chilli sauce came in. To the Western palate, and restaurants and things like that became very popular, and these it came in the guise of a sweet chilli, but then now it's become harder chilli and things like sriracha and things like that. So traditional sauces like HP sauces are falling, and more spicy sriracha is coming to the fore. So this is an adapting of the palate over time. We find that tend not to go for things that happen straight away. It's more over time. So if you don't like something, try it 10 times and then you might like it. So we didn't all like olives when we were children. Most of us didn't like olives. However, as peer pressure as an adult, and you're in a nice place in Spain, and I must try it, and I should really like these things, and so your palate adapts and changes over time. So it's quite a curious kind of behaviour.
There's a lot of things, isn't there? Like blue cheese, black coffee, things like beer as well, beer and lager.
Very few people liked beer and lager. When they first tried alcohol.
Whisky as well, I suppose.
Yes. Whisky is an interesting creature, because some people find it harsher, and it's in this part of the world, in Scotland, is one of the hardest places to sell whisky. You find the Scots who sell whisky all over the world
Yeah.
find it easier to sell in the States and Far East than we do here. The palates, seems to be, vodka was the big thing here, but it's changing, very much changing, and whisky has become a lot younger now. So in different parts of the world, like in Australia, whisky is under 30s, the fastest growing category. So, trends are changing. Younger people are starting to sort of go for these big flavours. So I'm going to do a wee quick taste.
Right, okay.
This is a super taster taste. This is very sort of scientific, PTC. It's a special paper. So I want you to take this and pop it on top of your tongue. And usually it's with a big audience, this kind of thing, so we get a real cross section of the group. So it's just us that will do it. So we just pop it on top of our tongue, like that. And then I'd like you to tell me if you get anything that comes a taste. Take this off as I'm speaking. Do you get a taste of anything? Is there any kind of a sense of, does it just taste like paper? I'll let it sit for 30 seconds, possibly a minute. If there's nothing happens, then we'll kind of work out whether this is a super taster test. Some people are not happy with the word super taster because it makes you think you're a superhero, but nothing coming at all.
There's a slight kind of sour,
slight
acidity kind of in me, but very, very, very slight.
For me, I get a bitterness straight away.
Right.
Now, bitterness straight away is the super taster, so it's for a bitter gene. We are 6 times more averse to bitters than we are to sweets.
Okay.
That's really the test. There's 25% of the population are super tasters. Globally, there's different parts of the world with different kind of variables on super tasters, and you find some parts, some ethnic demographics are more super tasters than others. So what the effect means is that if you have the bitterness, the super taster, then it means you have far more amplified taste experience than others around you. So you could be listening to music blasting out. Well, people have got headphones on, that's equivalent of the super taster. So you're more amplified. So it can mean a couple of things. It can mean you can be really engaged in food and drink, and you really get flavours and you really enjoy it and savour it. Or you can be super fussy and you like completely bland things, toast and beans, and that's it. There's different variables in the super taster. It doesn't mean to say you're superhuman. But if you get a bitterness come through sort of after about 30 seconds to a minute, can be a regular taster, 50% of the population. So up until last summer, there was sort of in 2014, science came out and realised that we have a gene, the super taster, bitterness, rather than the amount of taste buds. So up until then, we were painting tongues blue and saying it was by the number of papillae that we have in our tongue. So taste buds are underneath the papillae, and they send signals to process a perception in the brain. Now, taste is a very kind of interesting subject for me. I find it fascinating and what interacts with people. But this is just the start of the story when you do the super taster test, because we're going to take the bitterness that was there and we're going to give you a jelly bean. So if you'd like to take a jelly bean, we're going to do the jelly bean test. This is a fun wee test. What I want you to do, jelly bean, pinch your nose, pop the jelly bean in your mouth, and I want you to eat, chew and swallow. Keep your nose pinched until you're ready to swallow, and then release your nose. So you just chew away. What you're thinking about is, what do you get a taste? Do you get a mouthfeel? Do you get a texture? Do you get a flavour? And it gives you an essence of what's happening in the mouth. As you're ready to swallow, you release your nose, and you get something else at the back end. Do you get a sense of the flavour and the taste?
It's a really kind of
obscure taste.
Perfumey, floral.
It's quite unusual because it's actually beer flavoured jelly beans. Yes. I thought I'd give you something a wee bit different there.
Now you say that,
So that's the flavour that comes in the back end. So basically, when it comes to taste, Mouth gets all the glory, but actually what happens is the nose is first, the most direct sense. That's orthonasal, up to the 400 different receptors, and then they're interacting in the process of in the memory. But what happened there was retronasal, and that comes back through the nasal cavity. It's like a chimney, smoking chimney, if you can think of that. And then it comes back through the nose. So what to remember, so when you're thinking of whiskey, for instance, and you're tasting, as you breathe out, you're still tasting in. So when people talk about the nose and the mouth feel, the taste, and then aftertaste, the aftertaste is very important to whether you're going to like and enjoy a whiskey or whether you don't, you find it overpowering. So it's all very relative, but it's the most aroma recognition is through the retronasal. It's very, very important part of our taste experience, but it's got the least recognition out of all of them. So that's just a wee kind of touch on the science of how we taste. It's just a general kind of overview because it gives you a wee bit of understanding of how we taste and all the different taste trends, whether you like the port cask finish or you like the smoky or the sherry or the light styles whiskey. There's all these different styles of drinks that you might like. Why you order espresso coffees, super tasters, for instance. If you find it overwhelming, then you're going to go for a latte. You might order a weak baby tea. Some people have baby tea. So why do people drink strong tea and baby tea? So all these things are relative to your taste experience, but you don't always think about that. You're not taught about super taster at school and things like that. So you go through your life going to a coffee shop, ordering the same thing every day. You don't realise why you do it, but you just do it. So I find it fascinating. People find it interesting. It's kind of a taste experience. So this kind of science is quite young. It's been around for a while. Super Tasters goes back to 91. You've got Dr. Linda Barshuk at Florida University, but it takes a long time to come out. In public knowledge and public consciousness and things like that. So it's quite a different kind of thing to sort of taste. And when we're talking about aroma, there's different things that happen in whiskey, and we can segment the flavours and the aromas. Now, if you take, for instance, there's a perfume paddle with sprays of certain aromas. You might be able to still get this. I know it's a cold room and got a bit of a runny nose, but you should be able to capture some of the smells. So this is a fresh cut grass smell, more for the summertime, the gardens, cutting the grass. This is an aldehyde hexene, tons of hexene. So this is very volatile, which means when you cut the grass, it creates these aromas and then they go very quickly. So aldehydes are some of the most famous aldehydes in the world are things like Chanel No. 5 and things like that. So that's why a lot of people like that smell of fresh cut grass. It's quite a nice smell. This is another smell and aldehydes are in whiskey, the grassy notes and things like that. Fresher notes as well.
It's usually floral, really sweet.
Floral kind of notes. So these are compounds that we find in whiskey, floral lighter styles. Some people say like the Lowland style of whiskies, but floral can come in different ways and different compounds that make that up. So this is actually a spray that we used recently for an event, and it's cherry blossoms, fresh cut cherry blossoms. Not for this time of year, more for in April in Japan, May here. Now this next one is very interesting for whiskey because it's a big part of whiskey. You find that 80% of Scotch whiskies are going to find themselves in these kind of barrels at some point.
It's kind of woody and...
There's a certain type of sort of aroma you might get off that. It's actually it's a coconut aroma. It's like the husks of the coconut. Kind of, you can almost sense the brown sort of husk side of it.
Because it's not coconut.
It's not the sweet white flesh which is very kind of low aroma. This is quite high aromatic, so it gives you that sense. But that's from the heavily charred bourbon cask from American oak that we have in whisky. So a lot of the whiskies, like this one, will have spent some time in those bourbon casks. And these are the key elements. And there's some really quirky sort of sides to it as well, because the aromas you find, you've got vanilla as well, coconut. These are the American oak. The coconut is vanillin is a phenolic aldehyde. Phenols we know as in the smoky side of things. You have guaiacol and syringeol. These are the kind of smoky elements, but vanilla is actually in that sphere. So this is all very interesting from chemistry, a bit of chemistry there.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting, and I think what I find really interesting is that that sort of multi-sensory, sort of almost information overload, but people are really interested. It's kind of, I think that the kind of the whisky industry, the textile industry, the food and drink industry has went further than just provenance as where does it come from, who's grown it. It's actually, why does it taste like that? Why do I like that? Why does this feel softer than that? How is it made? And that sort of thing. And I think it's amazing. And I think that that's kind of the future of it. I don't know if you can share that sentiment.
Yes, definitely. The whisky drinker today is very educated. Just look online to see all the different people that do tweet tastings and things. People have become very. It used to be back in the day that there was a handful of people, the whisky experts. Now people have taken on all the information, and there's a lot of kind of whisky bloggers and reviewers and people that are very keen to get involved. And are very passionate about it. So it's to sort of feed their thirst. We've become more involved in science, and that's one of the reasons why I set up, because I saw that and realised it was kind of where it's going, and the future is very much the geeky side of whisky. People are very interested. It's never been so many different styles of Scotch whisky in the world that we have today. It's quite incredible. Okay, there's everyone's talking about Welsh whisky and the Japanese whisky and all that kind of stuff, but even if you take Scotch on its own, the range is unbelievable. It's phenomenal. But we have quite an incredible range of whisky.
And it seems like there's just more and more coming out as well. It seems like, and with fashion and textiles as well in Scotland, there's kind of no stopping it almost. There's like a couple of distilleries open up in Harris and more over in the islands and things, and new mills starting to kind of come about as well. So it's
interesting the drive from the craft side of things and the change. Obviously, Scotch is difficult for a category. If you look at the trend recently in gin, for instance, that people have free rein to do and produce whatever they like, as long as there's a kind of heavy juniper influence in it. But with whisky, there's the laws that are surrounded with it, there's the limitations. So there is a debate at the moment, in the world of whisky, about Scotch and how the freedom of other categories like bourbons and things like that can do different things. But it's still an incredible product, and just the sheer variety of flavours, the complexity that there has in Scotch is hard to beat. It's just quite incredible. As far as it's the most complex spirit in the world, best made spirit in the world. Even the cheapest Scotch whisky is better than most of the other categories that's out there. So it's a very high standard. That's why I like to look at different serves. People come to me that don't particularly big fan of whisky, but they quite like to. So you give them whisky cocktails or give them a different serve, and it just it brings new people to Scotch. But I'm very fascinated by bringing it to the multi-sensory. After a month of me launching my company back in 2013, I went to the Singleton Sensorium, which was the Dr. Charles Spence and Diageo did this kind of coloured rooms and sounds, and I was fascinated by this world of multisensory science that just kind of started to kind of grow since. And this has been very interesting for what I do. I'm very interested in these things to do with colour, light, texture, and we could maybe have a wee experiment while we're here and see if we can see the texture. See if I've got, I should have, I did have with me somewhere, some blindfolds.
Blindfolds.
I do try to carry blindfolds with me because you find that if you do take a sense away, it's amazing how your taste experience changes. Your eyes can lie what you're tasting, the colour, because you're judging on everything. You're judging by that being too dark, the colour of the whiskey, if it's too light. People think that, so colour is a big thing, and this vision that we have and our perception of colour. So if we take that away, then we have to really work to see the taste experience on it. So what we're going to try and do, as long as we don't knock over the drinks, is if you've still got some whiskey, is we're going to sort of try a couple of different textures from your world and some from my world. You have textures there. So we're going to taste the whiskey again, recapture the aroma and the taste. 70% is going to be the taste experience. More than 70% is actually the aroma. If you think of your food and drink, less than 1% of the molecular weight of your food, if you're tasting food, 80%, 90% of that is whether you're going to like it or not, is through only less than 1%. So a lot of the food and drink you have is bulk, and this aromatics, that's why aroma is so important. So we're going to explore that, but we're going to take you into texture, which I'm going to see if we can try and still see, but if you want to try first, I'll have you blindfolded then. Right, so what I want you to do is, I want you to go back to your whiskey, smell the aroma, and just take a small mouthful and taste. Keep it in your mouth, swirl it around, and I want you to rub the silk handkerchief. I want you to capture those flavours and tastes of what's happening in your mouth, and take it and store it in your memory centre, because that's what happens. It's like taking a Polaroid picture. When we do taste, it goes to olfactory bulb, over the cortex, and we store it as a memory. So I want you to try and see if you've captured that taste and aroma, right? So now what I want you to do is, we put the handkerchief down. Did you find that smooth in any way, or did you find it rough? Or
it was smooth. It was kind of, I don't know, kind of.
Compared to what the taste was before, did it taste any stronger, or did it taste any?
I thought it was stronger. It was more intense. I thought
it tasted more intense with the handkerchief. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is, we'll do the same, but we'll give you a piece of sandpaper, right? So I want you to, that's your sandpaper, and I want you to taste the whiskey again, and I want you to stroke the sandpaper as you taste the whiskey. And in your head, if you can try and compare, it's quite difficult to do this, but if you can have a sense of how it might have compared now to the taste that you had before.
That is different. A bit more kind of harsh.
The interesting thing that we have here is texture and the interaction of different senses going on. We don't have a huge bank of knowledge when it comes to texture. It's kind of quite an unknown thing out there.
Right, so unfortunately, a bit of amateur hour. The camera went off. I think it ran out of memory, or something. But yeah, so you missed out on some cracking patter. So we're going to try and recreate it, but not. It probably won't be the same. Anyway, the blindfold test was very good, very interesting. I definitely did feel a difference in taste between the sandpaper and the silk. Really, really interesting. I think what we talked about that wasn't recorded was about
I moved on to the Japanese being driving force globally when it comes to texture, and that in the West they are 4 times ahead of us when it comes to texture, and it's quite interesting the different descriptors that they have. We particularly like things that are crunchy and gooey in the middle. However, they like the squidgy things. So if you think of people that don't like mushrooms or oysters and things like that, those textures are affect the taste experience. But also the textures of drinks and things like that can be more viscous, more. If there's fizzy drinks, there's the science and chemistry of a Guinness and the rich smoothness. They also, whether people prefer their whiskey with the water in it, if they want a mixer, if they want ice in it, these are part of the textural experience of a taste. And it's interesting, it's very young science, and there's lots of things coming out of texture that's kind of unsung hero. Texture's quite often about the wrong texture. Right. So if something isn't right, then but if it's good, then it's fine. But so texture tells you when things are can be right and wrong. If the steak isn't cooked, to your liking and things like that, so it's a wrong texture. So, and also temperature. But moving into the whole multi-sensory, this creates all these different taste experiences and influences. And we moved on to talk about the whole evocative side of the Christmas period coming up. Branding. I was kind of talking about how it's almost kind of come full circle, and how sort of maybe 10-20 years ago globalisation was massive and everyone wanted to be everywhere really quickly. But way back when it was, you would shop local, you would buy your soup from the local tailor, you would buy your bread from the baker, and stuff like that. And I think that's similar to what is happening now, and people are realising it's almost this kind of modernisation of experience, and it's trying to kind of dissect the experience, whereas before you would recognise a smell because it was how someone's office smelled or the aftershave that they wore. But now I think that brands are really, you know more than this than I do, but brands are really trying to heighten that and do it deliberately, give the customer a good experience rather than just no experience or a bad experience through multi-sensory smells, sounds, sights. So when you buy a BMW, you buy the BMW smell, the sound of the door closing, the colour of the button, everything is relative, everything has been designed precision to heighten the experience. So yes, this is the experience economy. A lot of it has been driven by the millennials and this journey of it incorporates many things like storytelling as well. I never kind of touched on when it comes to things like taste and whiskey and things like that. As part of that is auto-suggestion. So if I say that the post cask is going to have a more tannic taste, or it's going to have a rougher texture to it, then sometimes planting that seed of auto-suggestion from a taster at a tasting session in whiskey.
I'm terrible for it.
This is a big influence on people, and peer pressure is a huge thing. I always try to, when I do events, is get people to not be involved in peer pressure and try and isolate, because the big trend as part of the experience then is personalisation. So personalising things, personalising experiences. We'll see the future virtual reality being a big thing next year. When it comes to tours, if you want to see a hotel and do the virtual tour, if you want to view a property, these things, there's going to be lots of different ways this is going to be harnessed. These are the technologies, and technologies will be used as convenience, so that when you check into hotels, iPads, you pre-book your restaurant, you pre-book this, you pre-pay things, so that it leaves more time for the experience.
I think one of the interesting things that you'd kind of touched on at 2 points was the kind of Christmas experience and that auto suggestion type thing as well. I often think that nostalgia is a false idea, it's false memories. Thinking about Christmas smells like cloves, like mulled wine, like ginger, brandy on Christmas cakes. I mean, when I was young, my mother didn't bake Christmas cakes or gingerbread or, I don't think I've ever seen anyone flambe brandy, but when you smell that, you think, oh, it's Christmas, and that reminds me of being a kid. It doesn't, it's a lot of nonsense, but it gives you that kind of comfort, doesn't it? And I think that's really fascinating, how you can kind of impart a kind of false memory through a kind of smell, through a different experience. So yeah, I find that really interesting.
The trends have changed over time. We were talking about also Halloween, the pumpkins, but when we were younger it would have been turnips and things.
Maybe
so,
when you were younger.
But pumpkins are only a modern kind of phenomenon in the last 5-10 years in the UK. It's very much an American import.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these experiences come through the marketing and the advertising, the big brands, the Coca-Cola truck coming and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I suppose the Coca-Cola one is the kind of
iconic,
the biggest, kind of most obvious one. But I think even going down the road of like Starbucks with their spiced lattes and stuff, that's now a thing with Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah. Eggnog.
And even when you talk about Halloween with pumpkin soup and stuff like that, like you never have that years ago, but it's very Americanised. But is it a bad thing? I don't know. It's a different experience, isn't it?
What you find as well is that it's just the aromas are very powerful, but also the sounds, the music, the songs can take you back to certain eras at certain times. The school dance and things like that, Christmas, these sort of things. So it's all the elements coming together. And you're experiencing the texture, but you can it's just the hint of a sound can just sweep you back, and it's in the emotional memory centre, so it can become emotional and memorable at the same time. So these people can resonate with that when they're watching films, movies, and romantic rom-coms and things like that. So it's.
I think what you kind of closed on is that it's about fun,
Yes,
and
exactly.
I think you could be really cynical about it and say, well, actually it's marketing companies trying to make more money, but maybe it is. But actually, I like the kind of naivety of thinking that actually it is about a brand experience, and it's about having fun, and it's about heightening your experience when you're shopping.
There's a culture, a generation that's come through some very difficult times, financial crises and things like that really want to experience things and want to enjoy things and see things in full HD and hear it and touch it, everything, explore all these. At the same time, the science is coming through to match this as well, which is very interesting, and so that people like myself can try and create these into more dynamic experiences in new ways. So it's all about fun. That's what the future is when it comes to this side of things.
Yeah, totally. Well, listen, thank you very much. Really, really enjoyable episode. Not to kind of say anything bad about my previous guests, but this was a very fun episode with a lot of experiments and science as well. Learned a lot, forgot a lot. Had some nice whiskey, but all good. So thanks very much for coming in again. Thank you. A bit of a technical hiccup. My inexperience in filmmaking and this sort of thing definitely showed there, schoolboy era. But not to worry, nonetheless the programme was excellent, really, really enjoyed it. So I'll put links to Ewan's company, Scotch Broth Events, at the bottom. Remember to subscribe to us, the little red button that says subscribe, click on that and get all the kind of videos and updates. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at 1030 Fashion, and also donate to Movember if you haven't already. I'm going to be shaving this off, so take some pictures where you can. Thanks very much for watching, and thanks to you for coming in. Excellent. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.